Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Rookie Card Collector 123 video. In today's episode, we're going to continue our look at Negro and Winter League baseball memorabilia, going beginning from the mid 1950s and going all the way back to the 19th century. We started in the 50s. We're working backwards. This episode today is going to cover the year 1946. So we're going to see some U.S. Negro League issues, items, as well as a bunch of Latin American photos and various other items from Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and those countries. We've got a few really big players coming up today. We've got a first professional baseball image of Willie Mays. We've got a Negro League-ish image of Jackie Robinson. So you definitely want to stay with me till the end of this one, and don't want to miss out on some of these fantastic pieces. So the first item we're going to look at today is going to be, this one's from the U.S. Negro Leagues. So this is a 1946 Newark Eagles Type 1 photograph. I believe all these players, or if not all of them, most of them, comprise the Newark Eagle pitching staff that season. So the one Hall of Famer pictured here is Leon Day. He would be the most notable name. We also have Max Manning, who's in the glasses, standing here at the end, the tall guy. He was another prominent pitcher in the U.S. Negro Leagues. There's a few other stars. I'm going to read off the names of those also. It's James Brown, Leon Day, Jimmy Hill, Lenny Hooker, and Max Manning. And there's a couple of guys that I don't have identified. So 1946 Newark Eagles, I believe, pitching staff. And Leon Day would be pictured here, the third from the left. So cool Type 1 photo. This is the Newark Eagles team that was owned and run by Effa Manley, the only female in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Next item we're going to look at is a Cuban Winter League. I'm sorry, not a Cuban Winter League. This one's also a U.S. Negro Leagues photo. This one has Minnie Minoso in his New York Cubans U.S. Negro League uniform, 1946 also. This is I believe, Minoso's very first season in the U.S. Negro League, so this could be his earliest Negro League image. He may have played in Cuba in his homeland for a season or two prior to this one, but this is very likely his earliest U.S. Negro League image here. He's there with another New York Cuban teammate who's not identified. I'm not sure who the other player is. But very early, this predates his rookie card by 6 years. So nice Type 1 Minoso photo there. Next one up is a fantastic item. I actually own this one a number of years ago with my Negro League memorabilia collection. This one is Jackie Robinson on the front cover of a magazine devoted completely to Negro League baseball. All the articles, photos, everything in there is from the 1945 season, which was the year that Jackie played for the Kansas City Monarchs, along with Satchel Paige on the same team. And it's got a beautiful picture of Jackie on the cover there. There were a number of these reprinted. Generally, they look much newer than the 1946 magazine would look. They're usually pretty easy to spot, the reprints, but you definitely want to be careful with that. This magazine today is probably a four-figure item, especially with Jackie pictured on the cover. Okay, next item we're going to look at is a 1946 Negro League All-Star Team photo. See if I can get the contrast to show up a little better. So there's too many players. The images are thus smaller, so you're not going to be able to identify anybody from the picture in the book here. But in person, these are crystal clear. These are crystal clear images, and you would be able to identify if you know the players by face, who they are. I've noted all the primary Negro League stars at the bottom, so I'm going to read off of that list of who's pictured here. So we've got Larry Brown, Piper Davis, Frank Duncan Jr., Chin Evans, Willie Grace, Joe Green, Bubba Hyde, Gentry Jessup, Lefty Lamarck, Clyde Nelson, Alex Double Duty Radcliffe. I'm sorry, that's his brother. It's just Alex Radcliffe. Ed Steele, Candy Jim Taylor, Quincy Troop, and Art Wilson. So probably the number one star from that photo would be Quincy Troop. Troop was a star catcher in the U.S. Negro Leagues. Also played a number of winters in Puerto Rico, overseas during the 40s and into the early 50s. He's not yet in the Hall of Fame, but probably one of the next most likely candidates when the Hall of Fame looks at Negro League candidates again in the future. So 1946 Negro League All-Star team. There's about 20 plus Negro Leaguers in this image. And above that, we have a Mexican League photo. So this is 1946 Mexican League. And standing all the way on the right here is Ray Dandridge. So Dandridge is a Hall of Fame third baseman. Played in the U.S. Negro Leagues from the mid-30s through the early 1950s. Also played in professional baseball. In the minor leagues, unfortunately, never got a chance to play in the majors. It was the very tail end of his career. So Ray Dandridge, he's got three other teammates. The one that I noted there is Theo Lick Smith. He was had some notoriety in the U.S. Negro Leagues. And there's two other teammates plus a gentleman dressed in formal attire who are not identified here. So the main one here, again, Ray Dandridge, 1946 Mexican League, Type 1 photo. Okay, next one we've got here is another 46. This one's picturing the Homestead Grays. We've got 5 ball players there, and I have 3 of them identified. The biggest star by far on here is Buck Leonard, who's standing at the end, all the way on the right. Buck Leonard started his career with the Grays around 1935 and would stay with them through almost up to 1950. Spent about 15 years with the Homestead Grays and teamed with Josh Gibson as the 3-4 power in the Homestead Grays lineup, and probably the best power hitting tandem in Negro League baseball history. The other 2 players of note were Dan Bankhead and Lick Carlisle. And then there's also 2 additional players which are not identified on here. So 46 Homestead Grays Type 1 photo with Buck Leonard there. Next one is a 1946-47 Almendares. So this is a Cuban baseball team premium. We looked at a couple of these Almendares premiums from 47. It's probably the same Winter League season because they overlap 46 and 47. But those were full body poses. These are composite images just showing the player from the neck up, portraits. The big name on this one is going to be Buck O'Neill, as it was with the other Almendares premiums. O'Neill got elected to the Hall of Fame recently, I believe it was 2022, and was a major contributor to professional baseball, not only the Negro Leagues, where he was a star first baseman, but also his post-Negro League career included coaching and scouting for Major League Baseball teams. And he was responsible for bringing many of the African-American ball players to the U.S. major leagues and minor league systems. The other highlights on this Salmondaris would be Lloyd Davenport, Jonas Gaines, Gentry Jessup, Adolfo Luca. He was a coach at that point, and Lazaro Salazar, who was another all-around great ball player. Was a pitcher, star pitcher, as well as hitter and fielder, along with Buck O'Neill. Okay, next one we're going to look at is another team from Cuba. This is 1946 Cienfuegos. Cuban team. This is a Winter League club. This is one of the 4 professional Cuban Winter League ball clubs. This one is highlighted by Martin Diego. And I believe he's over here. The images in the book are the image in the book here is pretty fuzzy. The actual photograph, you'd easily be able to identify the faces of the players, but I believe that's Diego. He was the star of the 46 Cienfuegos team. In addition to Diego, we also have Alejandro Crespo, Max Manning, and Luis Tiant Sr. So this was a pretty well-loaded ball club. All 4 of those names I mentioned are major stars in Cuba and also in the U.S. Negro Leagues as well. And this one is going to be probably one of the key Negro League pieces that exists here. This is a 1946 Chattanooga Choo-Choos. So this was a U.S. Negro League team. And the highlight of the 46 here, this is the first ever professional baseball image of Willie Mays. Mays is pictured on the team there. The contrast on the photo in the book here, the way it's printed, is too dark, so you really can't identify Mays in the photo. But he's on there. I've seen an original of it before, which is about 5 years prior to his 51 Bowman rookie card and his 51 Major League debut. There is also a 1948, which is 2 years later. There's a Birmingham Black Barons, which Mays also played on later in his Negro League days. There's a team photo of them as well. Mays is pictured on that one. Both of these are probably one of a kind. I can't say I know that there's more than one of each, so not likely you'll ever come across this, but a fantastic item, and if you ever do, you probably want to do your best to pick it up especially if you're a Mays collector, a master collector, because you'll most likely never see it again. Okay, next up we have a really cool item. Never saw this one in person or anything, but it exists. It's a 1946 to 47 Caramello Deportivo. So those were the caramel cards printed in Cuba for that Winter League season. And this is an uncut sheet, the way they were produced from the factory before they were cut and inserted into the candy boxes. The stars from that 46-47 series include Martin Dihigo, who was also the previous year, Ray Dandridge, who was also in the previous year, Raymond Brown, who was also in the previous year, Buck O'Neill, who was not in the 45-46 issue, and other stars as well. Those are the Hall of Famers. The ones pictured on the sheet are Ray Dandridge and Martin Dihigo, along with Alejandro Crespo, Pedro Formental, and Terrace McDuffie. So again, it's not something you'll likely ever see, but just in case you do, a phenomenal uncut sheet, 46-47 Caramello Deportivo from Cuba. Okay, above that one we have a 1946 Almendaris team postcard. This one might be a real photo postcard or it might be a commercially printed one. But the highlight of that one, as it shows underneath there, is Buck O'Neill. On the 46 Almendares team, we've seen O'Neill on several items thus far. All of them are extremely rare and very difficult to find. So another piece from Cuba, though. Okay, next up we have a 1945 U.S. passport, and this is Buck Leonard. So it's Buck Leonard's own United States passport, which he would have used to travel and play winter ball overseas in Cuba and the various other countries that he played in over the years. So another really unique piece there with a nice image of O'Neill. It's got all the passport stampings and all, as you would expect. Next, we have a 1945 Type 1 photo in his Cienfuegos uniform. So this is Luis Tion Sr., very similar image that appears on the Caramelo Deportivo card of Tion. And father, of course, of Luis Tion, the U.S. pitcher who played in the majors with Cleveland, Boston, and Yankees, and several other teams during the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. So Luis Tion Sr. Type 1 photo from Cuba. And next to him in his military attire, we have another Jackie Robinson image. This is a 1945 press photo, another Type 1 photo. Not in baseball, not in his baseball uniform, but in his military clothes there. And a beautiful portrait of Jackie on that one. So that's going to wrap up today's episode on Negro League memorabilia. Hope you enjoyed all the pieces. A couple of fantastic Jackie Robinsons, Willie Mays, some other Negro League stars. So next episode we'll continue. I think we're going to be moving back to 1945 and all the items that were produced that season. Both the U.S. Winter Leagues, the U.S. Negro Leagues, as well as Latin American winter baseball. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.